Hey folks, Myagi here. I've got a nice little tool for you guys to grab. I decided to make myself a sub-bass instrument rack and share it with you, and you can download it for free from the Warp Academy Vault. It sounds like this. I was recently teaching my Art of the Remix course, which is where I teach how to work on a remix from start to finish live. And I realized I didn't have a simple analog-style sine wave instrument rack that could fill in the low end of a bass line. So I made this. I'll give you a quick run-through on how it works. The basis is a series of multi-sampled analog-style sine waves, perfectly looped in sampler. They're a bit warmer sounding than some of the other simple, easy sub options and provide a really nice basis for your low-end synths. Now I've preset this instrument rack with some useful functions on the macro knobs that will take it beyond simply being a stock sine wave. Let's have a look at what each knob does. Overtone provides a small amount of FM signal within sampler, adding some higher end harmonic content to give your sub a bit of presence in the higher registers. This amount is kept fairly limited though, because the more FM you introduce, the more the signal skews towards a higher frequency, losing its extreme lows. So this is just to add a little bit of character. Next up are the crossover knobs. Now these actually control a series of multiband dynamics devices in an audio effect rack, and they function as a multiband splitter. So this is a super useful audio effect rack, and I actually suggest pulling it out and using it separately too. In this case, the crossover controls the splits between the low, mid, and high bands, and this will affect another couple parameters in this sub rack. Low frequency to mono takes everything below the low-mid crossover frequency and uses utility to pull it all into a mono signal. If you decide to layer another synth in this rack before the splitter, it's a really great function. And it also really works well with another parameter that we'll see in a sec. Glide time is sort of self-explanatory. It provides some internote glide. Next up is the sidechain control, which controls the threshold of a sidechained instance of the glue compressor. So this knob actually influences the amount of ducking. In this instance, I've used a kick track to trigger the compressor, but in your own productions, you'll want to change this so that it takes the trigger input from whatever you need it to, most likely the kick. High drive Widen actually adds a couple things. One is some detuned spread, and the other is a little bit of saturation in the high band of the multiband splitter. So this combines well with the overtone knob. And remember that if you widen it up, you can still use the low frequency to mono knob to pull everything below the low-mid crossover back into mono. You'll get some interesting phasing effects still, but they won't be all over the stereo field. Finally, the warm knob controls a small amount of overall saturation to give your sub a bit more, well, warmth. I've set it to gain reduce a little as you bring the knob up, so you'll be adding character, not volume. So there you go, a quick and easy analog-style sine wave sub rack that you can use as a stock instrument in your tracks. You can layer other synths with it, and it works really well if you just throw it underneath your existing synth line to fortify it. It's going to be super useful for you. Remember, you can grab this instrument rack for free, along with a ton of other synthesis and sound design tools, audio samples, etc. over at the Warp Academy Vault. Thanks.